Good afternoon and welcome to today's session of Imagine America Radio, our continuing Career College Exposition webinar series. My name is Bob Martin. I'm the President, CEO here at the Imagine America Foundation. I'm very excited about today's topic, training pilots and technicians, sponsored by Spartan College of Aeronautics and Technology. Spartan College of Aeronautics and Technology is this country's leading provider of high-quality aviation technology-based programs at 4 locations. Nationally accredited by ACCSC, Spartan College of Aeronautics and Technology operates in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Broomfield, Colorado, Inglewood, California, and Riverside, California. Spartan College of Aeronautics and Technology is also a new partner of the Imagine America Foundation Scholarship and Award programs. If you'd like to learn more about how your students can apply for one of our scholarships to attend this particular institution, please visit our website at www.imagine-america.org. Since our beginning in 1999, Imagine America remains the leading sponsor of scholarship aid to enrolling high school students. However, our country faces a serious shortage in certified workers. We hear from employers in virtually all sections of the country desperately looking for qualified employees, and we simply need to do more. Our partner in today's presentation, Spartan College of Aeronautics and Technology. Joining us today to discuss in detail the looming worker shortage and how Spartan is helping meet that need is Val Yang. Val is the Education Partnership Manager at Spartan College. But before we turn the program over to Val, let me very quickly go over today's agenda. Today's session of Imagine America Radio will be approximately 30 minutes long maximum. It includes questions and answers. All participants can submit questions while the presentation is in session via the Q&A feature in this Zoom meeting. At the end of the presentation, I'll then present all questions offered by the participants. We'll address as many questions as possible and provide written responses in follow-up emails. We will have a hard close at 2:30 p.m. So without taking any more time out of today's presentation, let me turn over today's session to Val. Val, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Val Yang from Spartan College of Aeronautics and Technology. Thank you to Lauren and Bob from Imagine America Foundation for inviting Spartan College to host today's webinar. I'm very excited to be here. A little bit about myself. I've been at Spartan College for about 1.5 years now, and I support the admissions and the outreach efforts into the college. I actually spend a good portion of my time outside of the Spartan walls. You can find me usually in a STEM classroom at an event, but usually in a classroom talking about aviation and careers in aviation. If Spartan College hasn't, or if you haven't invited Spartan College actually to visit your high school, we would love to do that. On the last slide, I'm going to have my contact information. It'll actually have my QR code, which makes it a little bit easier for high school counselors and also high school students to contact me a little bit more efficiently. It's a little bit more of a pipeline to my information. So please make sure that you invite Spartan to your high school to present. If you guys have college and career days, or if you would like to actually have a specific demonstration day, we can certainly do that. We also welcome any group tours to our training facility, which I'll talk a little bit about as it relates to aviation flight and technology, and I help coordinate all those efforts. So once again, I'm excited to be here and to share with you guys actually for the next 25 minutes, Spartan College's history, and most importantly, our commitment to training qualified technicians and commercial pilots for over 94 years. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and kickstart the presentation. The very first thing that we use, and we actually share this with all of our high school students and anybody that inquires, to better illustrate the need for qualified technicians and commercials or commercial pilots, we use this Boeing study. And so the study predicts that we need about 130,000 commercial aviation pilots and about 132,000 aviation technicians, specifically in North America alone, over the span of the next 20 years. Now, if we kind of tease that apart and kind of deconstruct what that means, most of this demand is very much in part to the fact that many pilots and technicians are baby boomers. And so they have an opportunity to do an early retirement. We kind of saw that a little bit what happened after the COVID pandemic. And so the aviation industry very much needs to fill that void with trained pilots and with technicians. So the students that we talk to who are entering into this career, it's very exciting. I get really excited when I talk to a student and right away they identify that this is kind of where they see themselves because it is a career that they're entering into and usually a long-term career in the field of aviation, which is quite robust. What we'll do now is we'll actually take a little bit more of a look into the aviation activities within the state of Oklahoma. So overall, Oklahoma is actually a very robust aerospace industry. So if we're taking a look at this activity, after World War II, Oklahoma emerged as a center for aviation activity. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we are really attracting the nation's most sophisticated aviation and aerospace developers, maintenance bases, and most importantly, suppliers. So if we go ahead and take a look at that, it seems that we have about 43 billion in economic activity from our aerospace and aviation industries overall. About a 10 minutes drive actually north of our main campus here in Tulsa is where we have American Airlines Maintenance and Engineering Center. So it's one of the largest commercial repair facilities in the area, which employs about 6,000 individuals. On top of that, we actually have our FAA Aeronautics Center in Oklahoma City that employs about 7,000 individuals. And really, that is a centralized support building that has training and facility for all of the FAA and U.S. Department of Transportation. And lastly, Tinker Air Force Base is one of the largest military aircraft and repair facilities in the world. It just so happens to be here in Oklahoma, and it employs about 56,000 jobs. So we're seeing on average there's about 240,000 jobs in Oklahoma that are in some way directly or indirectly supported and benefiting from aviation and aerospace kind of existing in the state of Oklahoma. So I want to say that that's something that we're really proud of. We want to make sure that we capitalize on that and let's continue to secure Oklahoma as a leading aviation state. With that being said, want to share too, I'm a little bit of a history buff here. So we actually opened our doors 25 years after the Wright brothers flew. We became a college in 1928, and proudly we've trained over 100,000 aviation flight and maintenance graduates from over 50 states and 40 countries. I'm originally from Wisconsin, so we have students from all over, like I said, 50 states, from different let's see, from Puerto Rico as well, and also from Virgin Islands. So that's something that we're really proud of. And most importantly, we do actually have an international student body group. We have flight students and maintenance students that come from South Korea, actually. I was actually just talking to a South Korean student the other day. And most importantly, we have students that come from different parts of Africa and Europe that come specifically to train here at our flight facility and our technology training facility here at Spartan in Tulsa. Accreditation is incredibly important to Spartan College. We are accredited by the Accrediting Commission for Career Schools and Colleges, licensed by the Oklahoma Board of Private Vocational Schools, and most importantly, our Aviation Maintenance Technology program has the Part 147 approval from the Federal Aviation Administration, and our aviation flight programs are also approved by the FAA. It's our Part 141, which I'm going to talk about right now. Alrighty. Today, I'm going to be covering some program details about our aviation flight, aviation maintenance technology, aviation electronics technology, our non-destructive testing technology. I kind of call that one of my GEM programs that we have here. And then we also actually have a bachelor's program that's available as well. In the application process and the onboarding process that we have for any of our inquiring students, we make sure that the program is a good fit for them. And so we'll often do a little bit more of a formal presentation, whether that's in person or virtually, and invite the student to come on campus to meet the faculty and staff and take a full tour. Our aviation flight program is approved by the Federal Aviation Administration. It has a Part 141 approval. And really what it is it's training individuals to become pilot ready. So it's our Aviation Flight Associates of Applied Science. So that's the full degree title. It is 17 months fully in Tulsa. Students are training specifically at a Riverside location, and our flight training prepares students to learn how to fly an aircraft. And most importantly, learning about the aircraft itself, right? So checking the processes before and after flight, verifying fuel, preparing and submitting flight plans, air traffic communication, Riverside is actually a very busy municipal airport. I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation. And so it's got a lot of radio activity, a lot of communication, which actually is really helpful in training our students. So that's a great benefit to them. And most importantly, our students are learning how to monitor their engines and making sure that while they're in flight, that they're checking their fuel, their aircraft systems properly. And most importantly, they are being prepared for their instrument rating training. And so what that is they're flying in the cloud. It's cloud covered, and essentially students don't have any visibility while they're airborne. A little bit more about kind of the nuts and bolts of this program. This program is designed to equip students, right, with the academic knowledge to perform, like I said, those flight activities safely and efficiently, but most importantly, to help them prepare for their required FAA examinations. Now, our flight program, Aviation Flight 17 months, is designed for the students to meet 6 milestone certifications. The first one would be the private pilot's certification. The next is the instrument rating. And after that, they transition to commercial pilot single engine, commercial pilot multi engine, and then certified flight instructor certificate and certified flight instructor instrument. In terms of a little bit more of the breakdown, like I said, the nuts and bolts of the program, for any of our incoming students that are looking at doing aviation flight, we do require that they have graduated from high school, so they do provide an official high school transcript, and or if they graduated from a GED institution. We need a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. Students are required to provide us with a valid copy of their passport, or they can provide a valid driver's license and a birth certificate. In addition, at minimum, the student needs to obtain a Class 2 medical certification from an FAA-approved medical doctor. And they can look at the FAA websites to see a list of approved medical doctors that are close within their location. And really that part, the medical certification, is to make sure and to determine that the student is fit to fly. In terms of our ground classes and the actual commitment that we ask all of our students, because making sure that they stay on track for graduation in a timely manner is key. So our ground classes are Monday through Friday, and students are expected to be available from 8 in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening for a traditional 2-hour day long instruction. And so it's about 25 students to one instructor, usually in a classroom. And in this classroom setting, they're learning about their plane detailings, they're learning all about the FAA guidelines, they're learning about maneuvers to do in their aircraft, weather, how to kind of read and understand the avionics systems, and et cetera. So they're doing the bulk of that learning within those 2 hours with an instructor Monday through Friday. On top of that, they are required to have about 3 hours of minimum lab Monday through Friday. The lab portion is fully online, so it does give the students a little bit of flexibility, but we do tell our students they have to build it in to their schedule so that they're making sure that they are checking that off their list every single day, the 2 hours of physical lab and then the 3 hours of fully online lab. And then on top of that, actually, our students are required to actually have a minimum of 4 flight activities a week. That does not include makeup and weather cancellations. So it does require the student to be, actually flying in an aircraft or within a flight simulator. So 4 flight activities a week. I know that that's a lot of information about flight. It usually is, but I do want to leave you with an important number before I leave. I think this is a great illustration of our commitment to our students to make sure that they can stay on task and on top of graduation. It's 362. So our flight campus is open 362 days a year. We close 3 days a year, and that's Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year. So we open 7 days a week. And that is really because we want to make sure that students have those options, that they're able to meet all the requirements for their on-ground, their lecture classes, and most importantly, their flight activities to stay on track for graduation and get even closer to making sure that they get those employment opportunities. I do want to share very briefly that we are very proud. About 3 to 4 months ago, we actually have a partnership with American Airlines. It is through American Airlines, and the program is their American Airlines Cadet Academy. And it gives students that are within our aviation flight program an opportunity to actually connect directly with American Airlines. And so if you have any questions about that, make sure that you reach out to me afterwards as well. Okay, and we'll go ahead and transition right now into a little bit more about the environment of our flight campus, why we think it's actually a very ideal training facility for our students. So these are the 5 primary benefits of training at Spartan College's flight facility. Our airport. So because we fly out of Tulsa Riverside Airport, it is, like I said, one of our busiest municipal airports. So that's something that we want our students to get used to because it's going to help them strengthen their skills, being able to multitask and think critically while they're flying their aircraft. Technology being one. So students actually utilize technology. They have an iPad with them when they're flying, and also the technology within our aircrafts. And then third, our actual aircraft. So we fly technically advanced aircrafts that are 2019 models or newer. And this is a huge benefit to our students. And I'll go into the details on that in just a little bit. And lastly, we're going to touch on weather here in Oklahoma. All right. Weather very much impacts our training and our airspace for a lot of our students. So that's one of the reasons why Spartan College is an extremely safe place to fly and train. It's because of these very specific 5 factors as they relate overall to the safety components of training at our flight facility. All righty here. Weather. I'm originally from, I'm also from Minnesota too, so I love talking about the weather. So, with that being said, the most important thing to know is we actually have great opportunities in terms of a high number of flying days. So, if we kind of compare that to what's happening weather-wise across the upper Northeast, we do have a high number of cloud-free days. So, at the same time, because Oklahoma gets all 4 seasons to fly, the good thing is we get those great days to fly, but we also get an opportunity to have those bad days as well. So those nasty, not so great weather days to fly. And that's very much necessary for students in terms of their instrument training. For example, if we had a student that was maybe training in San Diego or in Arizona, right, they may not necessarily have those real conditions to fly in. Specific here to Oklahoma, something special is our crosswinds. So right now it's springtime, right? It's incredibly windy. We tell our students calm winds are worse because you're not necessarily learning anything. And so what we want is we want to make sure that our students have that opportunity to be in those real conditions. They're learning how to fly in not so calm and some challenging conditions. With that being said, too, one of the things that our students kind of jokingly report to us once they've started their program is that they have learned how to become a weather expert. So, one of the tools that they're going to pick up right away is learning how to read the weather. It's a huge portion of their training, and so they kind of become a little bit of a weather expert, not just at Spartan College, but at their but within their family as well. And all of these things are very much what's contributing to safety of the core of everything that we do at our flight campus. And we're going to transition to talking a little bit about our airspaces here. So Tulsa provides one of the best airspaces for flight training. We are specifically classified as a Class D Delta airspace. And so what that means is we have large, uncrowded space for our students to train. If you kind of take a look at the map there, you'll see north and south of us that is Kansas City and Dallas. They are classified as B, so they are a little bit busier. But you'll notice there's all of that wide open, uncrowded spaces in between. And so that very much allows our students to have that opportunity where they can train in multiple different directions. And most importantly, they can plan to do training for their cross-country flights as well. Alrighty. And then one of the important features of our airport is the fact that we do have a towered airport. This is incredibly helpful. It contributes to a safer training environment for students because it enhances the communication with air traffic control. We have varying approach procedures within nautical miles, and that is to achieve precision and non-precision approaches. But most importantly, if you take a look at the map here on the left-hand side, you'll see that we have dual runways. So flights are efficiently going in and out, right, with air traffic control and communication. But most importantly, you'll see that we actually we have a crosswinds runway to give students additional training in the event that we do have high winds. And something that we are incredibly proud of is the fact that Spartan College, we boast about 35 aircrafts. So that's our fleet. We have a fleet of about 35 aircrafts consisting of about 30 technically advanced Piper Archers that were recently purchased in December of 2020, including our Seminoles. And these are for our students to utilize while they are training. The FAA requires about 10 hours in a complex aircraft. And so Spartan College, our planes are equipped with second generation Garmin G1000 avionics to meet the requirements as the students train. So our planes are technically advanced, and that means that if you kind of take a look at that top picture in the black, there's a glass cockpit and has two primary displays. So the first one is what we call the PFD. So that's the primary flight display. And that does include, at minimum, it showcases the airspeed, the indicator, turn coordinator, the vertical speed for the student. And then we also have the MFD, that's also known as the multifunction display. And that right there is where the students are using that to read the weather, for example, and that's a little bit more of the navigation system. Most importantly, our aircrafts are equipped with 2-axis autopilot integration with the navigation and the guidance systems as well. Alrighty, I love seeing this logo. If you come to visit Spartan College, whether you be at our flight training facility or at our North Hangar facility, you'll see this logo actually on our aircrafts and across our buildings. This logo was developed actually in the 1930s by a few of those students during that time, and we certainly believe that that model remains true to this day. We strongly believe that it's knowledge and skill that overcomes superstition and bad luck. And so, once again, to kind of just reiterate, the safety features behind training at our Spartan College Aviation Flight location is the air traffic control, right? So having that unique approach in departure services, specifically because Class D airspace doesn't necessarily offer those services, but we do. And second, one of the things that's kind of interesting too is on our aircrafts, we have what's called ADSB on all of our planes. And so that's collision avoidance technology. Most planes send a signal to traffic control to indicate this is where I am. And so our planes have the capacity to send that signal and, most importantly, to receive that signal as well. So once again, just an underlining feature as to reason why training at Spartan College is, that's the reason why students are coming to train specifically at Spartan College, because of our safety features. Alrighty, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and transition to our technical training programs now. Due to some new FAA standards for accredited schools, including Spartan College, right? So these are some of the things that we make sure that is present when we take a look at our curriculum. Is number one thing is we actually do have a program advisory committee, really, and so what that is it's made up of industry representatives and employers from many different facets. So they're coming from large and small companies, but they're connecting with Spartan College through our advisory council to give us perspective throughout the entire year as we're leading our programs. Second thing that we're purposely doing is making sure that there's diversity with our hands-on training. So we're using a variety of aircrafts while we are training, using parts and systems that are both present and past, and making sure that at the end of the day, that is really what we're providing to our students is holistic, technical programs that are focused on both the power plant and the airframe. I'm going to go into that a little bit in the next slide as we talk about aviation maintenance technology. And also making sure that the industry actually has a strong emphasis right now on what's happening in the industry. So right now there's a heavy emphasis on digital and composite technology. We know that because that's what our advisory member councils tell us. And so making sure that we're training our students to meet those expectations where the industry is at. And as of right now, there's a great emphasis on digital and composite technology, which is what we currently teach. Something very proud of that we want to mention is Spartan College is actually the first school to offer a comprehensive online hybrid option. So we do have our aviation maintenance technology program that's available for our students, depending on the state that you live in. That's why you want to make sure that you're checking with the admissions team. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, but really we provide this because we want to really make sure that training is accessible to students who want to enter into this industry. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the certification behind the ANP, and then if anyone has any questions, we can kind of go into that as well. So our aviation maintenance technology program is fully on ground, and we also have a hybrid as well. The fully on ground program is 17 months long. It's Monday through Friday, so a little bit of a different skeleton than our flight program. So students are required to be on campus Monday through Friday around, like I said, 7:30 to 2:30 in the afternoon, starting off with lecture in the morning and transitioning to lab in the later afternoon. This program gives you an opportunity you can sit in when you're successfully done with a program to take what we call the mechanics certification in your airframe and power plant. And that's a lifetime certification that allows the students to work work on, to maintain, repair, replace all the components of the aircraft according to the FAA regulations. So they could be doing anything from working on reciprocating and turbine engines all the way down to doing riveting, doing composites, sheet metal, fixing the electrical, working on the hydraulics, doing the fuel metering of the aircraft. They're essentially a doctor of the entire aircraft. So it's a very versatile degree for, certificate for our students. We offer it both in the diploma and the associates, which is just an additional 3 more months. And students are taking what we call general education classes. And I'll show you as well, oh, excuse me. So we have our Aviation Electronics Technology program, which is 15 months for Associate of Applied Science. For those individuals that are interested in learning how to program and fly drones, that's available in our Associates pathway. Classes are required as well, Monday through Friday, the same time as our Aviation Maintenance Technology students, 7:30 to 2:30 in the afternoon. And specific to this program, students are learning about the internal systems of the aircraft, the communication, the wiring, the panel, the radar system, so anything internal as it relates to the aircraft in itself. And the last program I want to touch on is our 10-month-long non-destructive testing program. Now, when I go out and present, I know I always get a lot of very empty looks because not a lot of students know about this program, but that's the reason why I call it one of our GEM programs. It's 10 months long, fully during the day. Students get an opportunity to learn different types of testing methods and techniques, such as radiography, such as ultrasonic. They're also learning about eddy current, but what they're doing is they are a technician, they are on site, and they are checking an infrastructure that's welded or manufactured together to make sure that it holds integrity, that's not going to fall apart. So for those of you that drove to work today, your car engine, a non-destructive technician looked at that. And another example is for any of you that have gone to the fair, if you've been on an amusement ride, right, all those rides are welded together. And so it would be a non-destructive technician that would make sure, that would check the integrity of those welds to make sure that they still had integrity and they're not going to fall apart. So that's our 10-month-long program. Students in this field actually get a little bit of diversity in terms of the space that they get to enter into. So it's not limited to just the field of aeronautics. They can go into a manufacturing industry. They can go into chemical. They can go into just a lot of other diversified industries as well outside of aerospace. And we have a bachelor's program designed for individuals that are working in their technical industry and their careers. So for students who have certifications and they want to get their bachelor's program, this is fully online. We have student and career services. So we are traditional and non-traditional in many sense. We want to make sure that we are preparing our students, right, for that next leg of the race, which is essentially working on their resume, honing in on developing their interviewing skills so that they can participate in the part-time job assistance that we have on campus. We have on-campus recruiting events that are specific to employers. But most importantly, Spartan College is also responsible for putting on 2 annual career fairs a year as well. I also want to leave you with what we call our graduate refresher class privileges. And so really what that means is students get an opportunity if they need to come back and take a refresher, they can contact the college. They usually get linked in with the department chair so that they can come back and take a refresher class. We've had some alumni students that have reached out to the college to be able to do that. Students are able to, these are some of the companies that our alumni have gone on to work for. There's Delta, United, there's SkyWest on here, and Boeing, American Airlines. I want to also say that our alumni are welcome to come back and participate in any of our Spartan events, and that does include our job fairs as well. For students that might be a little bit further away from the metro area, we do have apartment style housing for our students. So all the utilities are included. Just let your admissions representative know it's a first come, first served basis, but usually finding and securing this apartment is not an issue. Okay, so all utilities are included, and this is something that students would do at the beginning of their application journey. And I'm sure in the Q&A I can talk about that a little bit more too, but we do have housing. It's walking distance to our main campus. It has 24-hour security, and it also gives our students an opportunity if they want a room with a classmate and that's studying the same program with them. We try to make sure that we can make that happen as well. And of course, we have options to finance students' education. So this is actually the second step in the process. So once students meet with an admissions representative to see if this is a good fit for them, to answer all of their admissions questions, this would be the second thing that they would do. Once they submit an application, they'd get connected right away within 24 hours directly to our financial aid team. They would get a one-on-one and kind of talk about what financial aid options are best for them, depending on how they qualify, so that it's built into the admissions process. All righty. I'm sorry I went through that last piece kind of quickly. I certainly wanted to go ahead and give you guys the last slide here, which has my contact information and my QR code. Once again, my name is Val Yang, and I'll say it out loud. My office number is 918-831-5228. And thank you so much for having me on today, Bob and Lauren.
Hey, well, thank you. Great job. We really appreciate it. I think you covered the first two questions that we had. That had to do with GPA. That was pretty clear, and also with regard to housing, which you offer. Let me get into the other question. You mentioned in your presentation four opportunities to fly each week. How many hours do you estimate that would be? Weather being good, etc.
You know, that's a great question. Unfortunately, I'm not the best equipped person to answer that question. So usually what happens is we actually have a whole team, a scheduling team that works specifically with our students to kind of coordinate how many hours they need a buffer in order to fly. One thing to keep in mind too, Bob, is when we talk about flight, actual flying time, and this is something to clarify with our students, it's actual flying time. So it doesn't include the fact that the student has to arrive on campus a little bit earlier, get their schedule, come up with their pre-flight plan, post-flight plan, all those sort of things, and check their fuel metering. And so that's one of the reasons why we always want to overemphasize that this is a full-time program. It's quite robust. It's designed that way for a purpose. So it's advantageous to the student as they're building on the muscle memory, building on the critical thinking that they're developing, all those sort of things. And so they're required to be on campus and be available at least a minimum of 5 days for their lectures and actually about 7 days, hopefully, to get in their flight activities. So
It looks like the final question has to do with FAFSA. You talk about it relative to financial aid.
mhm.
Do you have any FAFSA workshops or assistance for students coming up?
Yes, we do. And you know what? Let me actually just pull it up really quickly on my website here. So if you happen to go to spartan.edu, the nice thing is we always have a lot of events happening on
Mhm.
campus. And Bob, you mentioned this because we have a few different locations. So I want to share with you guys that actually on March 20th, we have a Spartan College Financial Aid One-on-One Understanding Financial Aid workshop. So that's available for anyone to sign up for. It's online, it is a virtual event. If you are interested in doing that, you can go primarily to the website or you can grab my QR code, my email and phone number, reach out to me, and I'll make sure that we send you in the information so you can participate in that.
Great,
So
really
March 20th and the 21st, we have some
gr-
financial aid workshops already. Yes.
great. Let me go through a few administrative housekeeping things so for our members here, our registrants. First, the foundation has recorded this session, and we're going to forward it to all registrants for them to be able to review. The session is on our website, or will be on our website, www.imagine-america.org, with very specific download instructions. Really encourage you to go in and download it and listen to it again. You always find that second time you listen to something, it answers some questions or some things come up that you hadn't thought about. We're going to be sending out a survey when you leave this meeting. We really would appreciate it to get your feedback. It helps us to identify topics, speakers, etc. And we'll look for that coming from Imagine America. Before closing, I'd like to thank our participants, the educators that have taken time out of their very busy schedule to join us today. We really appreciate it. We know you've got a number of competing demands on your time, and we just appreciate you carving out a little bit of time for Val and for Spartan and for the Imagine America Foundation. I'd also like to thank Val for sharing today's excellent presentation and encourage any and all of you to contact her directly regarding any questions you have about the presentation, about Spartan, and about possible admissions issues. On behalf of the Imagine America Foundation, Lauren Cunningham and myself, I want to thank you and hope you have a great day. Goodbye.